Amitabh, stay on. We just have our guest editor here, Manish Shakhani. So let me introduce him. Manish, go ahead.
Yep. Hi, Amitabh. Yeah. Well, the reason, I asked specially for you to be, requested to come on today was to get this whole pall of gloom that we have in India, that investments not taking place, cleared. And for viewers who don't know, Amitabh is the man behind the Incredible India campaign. So he really is now helping to make India incredible. Okay. I just want to quickly paraphrase what this project means. It's 7 large manufacturing enclaves across the length and breadth of western part of India. You will create, skill zones to get skill training and vocational training in. You'll create plug-and-play industrial townships. So clearly, like he's saying, it's not going to happen in a year or two. But a lot of the answers to regulatory clearances, getting project delays, all that gets solved because government's in the act now. And they will create SPVs at various levels to get these kick-started. Like Amitabh said, it's $100 billion investment. They've got funding from multilateral agencies, from Japan, from IDFC, IIFC. Everyone is a player in here. And therefore, this gloom that there is no investment potential in India and investment won't happen, I think, Amitabh, I'm doing part of your job on today. But, I think it is important to bring out that there is a concerted move to make investment a lot more friendly on the ground. And, surely this won't happen in 3 or 4 years. But directionally, this is what we needed to do.
No, Mr. Kant, will India Inc. bite? I mean, if you put out your tenders in May, will India Inc. bite?
No, I think the important thing is that when you do new cities, it's very important that you create the backbone of the city. The drainage, the sewage, the solid waste, the ICT network on the back of it. And that's the kind of detailed engineering that we've done so that India really makes a quantum jump in the quality of engineering. And this backbone of these new cities is actually being created with government funding, with long-term lending coming in from Japan. And therefore, once the backbone of cities is created, then the rest of it for private sector to come in becomes far more easier. I mean, you can't have situations like we've had in our existing cities where we bring in private players and then we start doing retrofitting of trunk infrastructure much later. So my view is that once the backbone of these cities has been created, and many of these contracts in the initial phases will be EPC contracts, and we have to our mind, this would enable the private sector to come into the subsequent phases much quicker, much faster, because all approvals would have been in place. And I tell you, taking approvals for the private sector is quite a nightmare. I mean, we've struggled with this. We've taken about 44, 45 odd clearances within and housed them in the SPV. So that's a big challenge that we've met. And we are extremely confident that once the EPC contract to global scale and size is cracked on ground, the private sector will come in an extremely big way. And I think that will really provide the momentum to India's manufacturing, to India's urbanization.
That's a very important point you made, Mr. Kant. Just hold on to that. That's an important point you made, because I'm going to try and relate this to some stocks as well. Manish, I want you to come in on this, because like he said, to create this entire infrastructure backbone, you have direct and indirect beneficiaries in all of these sectors, power, auto, etc. Just put together some stocks or some, some pockets that would benefit from this.
Well, I just wanted to conceptualize it this way. When you created one port in Gujarat with Adani, it's gone from nowhere to the largest port in India effectively today. It's a $5 billion market cap in these depressed times. What they're doing is creating 7 manufacturing enclaves across India. So it's much beyond the port. You'll get the power and the water and the roads and everything built up ready, so you can go in and plug and play. So the size scale of this is effectively creating Pudangs and all which you have in China. It also solves things which we don't have on the export side. You don't have scale in India because you don't have these zones which allow manufacturing excellence. Because today our SEZs are all 50 square miles, like he was rightly saying, suiting a developer or a particular industrial house or a particular party and so on. So if this is indeed implemented, this changes the landscape of manufacturing in India. And these new townships effectively are a new Mumbai, a new Aurangabad, a new Nashik, and so on. And it's a bit like the internet. So when the internet came, it's the content providers who just completely lifted off. And I think this can lead to a big revival of manufacturing in India. Where manufacturing is 15% of GDP.
Okay.
Our exports are some...
and that's the most depressed sector.
And exports are what, 7-8% net, of GDP today. So we clearly need that to lift off.
Mr. Kant, out of time, but I believe you want to come with the last comment.
I would just like to put this in a perspective, because goods produced in the northern part of India today take about 13 to 14 days to reach the ports on the western coast of India. Once the dedicated freight corridor comes in, by the end of 2017, you will have goods reaching the ports within 14 hours. And that, to my mind, is a radical shift. It will make a paradigm shift. And this would bring in a huge amount of efficiency in India's exports. And when you have these new large manufacturing cities on either side of this dedicated freight corridor, India will make a quantum jump in manufacturing. Now, just to tell you that Dholera, the city which we are doing in Gujarat, is size of almost 920 square kilometer. I mean, this is the size and scale of dimension of the planning process, the detailed engineering that we've undertaken. And that's larger than Singapore. So I think you need to take a long-term perspective on this.
Point taken, Mr. Kant. Pleasure having you with us, and this chat with Manish Chokani certainly puts things in perspective, at least blows away some of the